They slammed her to the ground, taser crackling, while I stood helpless, until I uttered 5 words that made every SWAT officer stop cold and reach for their radios. The night started like any other. Mark Dempsey, 38, and his wife Alina, 36, were driving home from a quiet dinner just outside Denver, celebrating her latest breakthrough as a biotech researcher. Laughter still lingered between them as their car rolled to a stop in front of their suburban home. That's when everything went sideways. A blinding spotlight hit their windshield. A megaphone voice boomed, "Driver, hands on the wheel! Step out of the vehicle!" Confused, Mark instinctively raised his hands. Before they could ask what was happening, 6 men in tactical gear swarmed the driveway, SWAT vests, assault rifles, helmets. "Get on the ground, now!" Alina opened the door, terrified. "There's a mistake." She never finished the sentence. A taser cracked. Her scream pierced the air. She collapsed hard against the pavement. Mark lost it. "What the hell are you doing?" He dropped to his knees beside her, but an officer grabbed him by the collar and shoved him against the garage. "Suspect resisted. Neutralized," one officer barked into a shoulder radio. "Suspect!" Mark shouted. "That's my wife! She's a scientist!" The team didn't flinch, until Mark locked eyes with the highest-ranking officer and said 5 words, his voice low, furious, and certain. "Check your commander's personal phone." Everything stopped. Radios clicked, glances exchanged. The lead officer froze. "What did you say?" "You heard me," Mark growled. "Check your commander's personal phone, right now." Because what none of them knew was that Alina wasn't just a scientist. She was the lead analyst on a federal corruption case tied to the very agency that had sent this SWAT team. And the orders they just followed were about to blow up in their faces. For a few tense seconds, no one moved. The SWAT team stood frozen, tasers still buzzing, boots planted on concrete, as Mark cradled Alina, her breathing shallow, her eyes fluttering. The commanding officer, Lieutenant Rawlings, narrowed his eyes. "You're bluffing." Mark didn't blink. "Then check it. I dare you." Rawlings turned and gave a subtle nod to one of his men, who pulled out a secure phone and stepped aside, fingers moving fast. The silence was unbearable. Mark clenched his jaw. He wasn't just buying time. He was betting everything on the message Alina had sent just an hour before their dinner. An encrypted report flagged to 3 federal contacts and, critically, blind carbon copied to someone high enough that retaliation wouldn't come quietly. She had told Mark minutes before dessert. "If anything strange happens tonight, just remember, I copied the commander's burner." The officer's expression changed. He stiffened. Then he turned to Rawlings, pale. "Sir, you need to see this." Rawlings snatched the phone, scrolled, and froze. On the screen, a full dossier. Names, wire transfers, photos of Rawlings himself in a private meeting with someone under federal investigation. And at the top, from Dr. Alina Dempsey. Subject, Whistleblower Report, Phase 2. Upload. Complete copy, U.S. Justice Oversight, Inspector Division, and L.T. Rawlings' personal alias. The entire scene shifted. Rawlings' jaw tightened. Sweat rolled down his temple. "Stand down," he barked. "Everyone back, now." The officers hesitated, stunned. "Sir, protocol—" "I said back off." Weapons lowered. The formation dissolved. Mark helped Alina sit up, his hands trembling. She looked at him, dazed but alive. "You said it," she whispered. "Every word," he nodded. Behind them, Rawlings backed toward his vehicle, trying to speak into his mic. But it was too late. Because at that very moment, 2 unmarked black SUVs pulled into the street, tires screeching. Men in dark suits stepped out, badges raised, and the lead agent said 3 words that made everyone freeze. "Lieutenant Rawlings, you're done." Because the ambush had been real. But the trap was already set. The moment the black SUVs rolled up, the power dynamic flipped. FBI agents in suits surrounded the scene like shadows closing in. Their calm was colder than the SWAT team's heat. Where the officers had barked, these men moved with finality. Lieutenant Rawlings raised both hands, trying to maintain composure. "This is a mistake. I was following an intel lead." "Cut the act," said Agent Moreno, flashing his badge. "We've had eyes on you for weeks. You gave the green light on an unsanctioned raid. You erased logs. You rerouted dispatch. And you lied about a federal witness." Mark helped Alina stand, her knees wobbling. Two agents rushed to her side, guiding her gently to the ambulance that had just arrived. "She's a protected asset," Moreno continued, "and you just tasered her in a front yard, with witnesses and body cams rolling." Rawlings glanced toward his team, his own men now stepping away from him in silence. One of them, the one who checked the message earlier, looked down in shame. "I didn't sign up for this," he mumbled. "Neither did she," Mark snapped, pointing toward Alina. "You could have killed her." Rawlings clenched his fists. "You don't know the game you're playing." "No," Mark said calmly, "but I just watched the board flip." Within minutes, Rawlings was in cuffs. Every member of the SWAT team was disarmed and questioned. A laptop recovered from his SUV revealed logs and deleted files. Direct links to the shadow group Alina had been investigating for months. Her whistleblower dossier had triggered the storm, but Rawlings' greed had exposed the wires. That night, at the hospital, Alina rested with oxygen and a soft IV drip. Mark sat beside her, holding her hand like it was the last thing keeping him anchored to the earth. "They'll come for us again," she said quietly. "Then we'll be ready," he whispered. "This time, the world's watching." She smiled faintly. "You remembered the 5 words." He kissed her knuckles. "I remembered everything, Lena." And for the first time in weeks, she slept without fear, because the man who once watched her battle corruption in silence had now spoken 5 words that made the monsters stop cold. And tomorrow? They wouldn't run anymore. They'd stand together. In the weeks that followed, the story made headlines across every major network. Whistleblower tased by rogue SWAT team, husband's 5 words spark federal takedown, corruption at the top, FBI, arrests decorated officer in plot to silence biotech researcher. But inside their modest home, Mark and Alina were less focused on news vans and more focused on rebuilding a life they almost lost. Alina's recovery was slow but steady. Her injuries faded faster than the trauma. What lingered was the truth. She had nearly been erased by the very system she was trying to protect. But now, that system was being forced to listen. A congressional hearing was launched. Alina testified, strong, articulate, unshaken. Her voice, once muffled in the margins of classified files, now echoed through chambers packed with lawmakers. Mark sat behind her through every word. When she looked over her shoulder, his eyes reminded her, "You're not alone. Not ever again." After the dust settled, the Department of Justice offered Alina a leadership role, overseeing ethics and accountability in federal science contracts. She accepted, on one condition. "My team will include people who have been silenced before. People like me." Meanwhile, Mark turned down multiple offers for interviews, book deals, and brand sponsorships. "I didn't do it for a story," he said, in the one statement he released. "I did it because no man should ever watch his wife fall and stay silent." A photo later went viral. Mark and Alina standing hand in hand outside the Capitol steps. Her ID badge read, "Senior Oversight Advisor." His read, guessed. But beneath the image, someone had added a caption. Sometimes 5 words can stop the wrong people, but standing together? That's what stops the system from ever trying again. And in the quiet moments at home, when the world wasn't watching, they'd sit in the garden under string lights, coffee in hand, hands clasped. Because justice hadn't just arrived, it had come wearing scars, and it had stayed wearing love.